So welcome everyone. Let's cut through the complexity of JORC reconciliation and get straight to what matters: transparency, accuracy, and compliance. I'm Rayleen Hargreaves, Principal Consultant and Product Owner for Reconcilor at Datamine. So reconciliation reporting doesn't have to be painful. With over 25 years in the mining industry, first as a mine geologist and now helping operations worldwide improve transparency, I know the struggles firsthand. Today, I'll show you how Reconcilor can simplify your end of month and annual reconciliation reporting, giving you confidence in your numbers and keeping you ahead of compliance changes. Here's what we'll cover today. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'll try and keep to my time limit. I'll give a brief introduction to Datamine. What are the proposed additions to JORC for reconciliation? How Reconcilor supports the future of compliance. I will provide a live demonstration of Reconcilor's capabilities in this space. And after that, I'll open the floor to your questions. Let's get started. For those of you that are not familiar with our company, this image shows part of the current software solutions that Datamine owns and supports globally. We have something for everyone and covers every part of the mining cycle, from exploration, geology and planning to production, laboratories and environmental. Today we are using Reconcilor, which is part of our production portfolio. So here I've taken some key reconciliation extracts from the draft JORC Code, and I'd like to take a moment to highlight a few of the proposed requirements. These changes emphasise the importance of reconciliation reporting, transparency and variance analysis in ensuring compliance and improving operational accuracy. So let's explore these proposed updates and what they mean for your operation. I'll start on the summary of proposed changes, where there'll be a new clause requiring the disclosure of an estimate to a prior estimate, or alternatively, the reconciliation of the mined part of an estimate to the mine production results. In Reconcilor, a mined part of an estimate is referred to as a model by survey. I think the naming of mine production at the moment is a little hazy. Are JORC talking about mine production as in what's coming out of the ground, or are they talking about plant production and your product, your results? So within Reconcilor, we can do both, and we will have a look at both today. Why is this important? Because the Australian Stock Exchange listing rules have requirements for these comparisons. So an estimate to an estimate, or an estimate to an actual. Just to be clear, when I talk reconciliation, when I'm talking in Reconcilor, I've got the same definition as the proposed code. So that is the comparison of an estimate to another estimate or to an actual, like the mine production or plant production results, which is why Reconcilor is out of the box fitting for the reconciliation in JORC. There are many variables in the geological models, and having any of those variables reconciled graphically can help understanding, absolutely. And the reconciliation between material modifying factors and actual mine production and mineral processing outcomes must be included in the public report. So this mandates mining companies to disclose how well their assumptions, their modifying factors, match real world results in their public reporting. So assumptions or modifying factors are parameters like mining recovery, dilution, processing recovery, that impact the feasibility of extracting a mineral resource. So why does it matter? We've got to ensure accountability in the resource estimation and the mine planning. This is what investors are actually, putting their money into your companies for. It helps those investors and regulators understand if a company's forecasts are realistic, and it does reduce the risk of overpromising and under-delivering in production reports. Another key point was that results should be presented in a simple format that also shows what the competent person deems to be acceptable tolerance limits of variation. In Reconcilor, we refer to the tolerance limits as control limits. So reconciliation reporting isn't just about numbers. Okay, it's about telling the story of your mine's performance. It's about ensuring what we report actually reflects what's happening on the ground. It's the difference between assumption and reality, and it plays a critical role in JORC compliance. And let's break it down and actually determine why it matters. First, reconciliation builds trust. No doubt about it. Stakeholders, whether they're investors, regulators, or internal decision makers, need confidence that reported figures align with real production outcomes. By reconciling estimates against actuals, we can create transparency and accountability in reporting. Secondly, mining's dynamic. Things change. Reconciliation helps track material changes like resource depletion and shifts in operational performance. So without it, we risk making decisions based on outdated or inaccurate data. Variance is inevitable. You know, if I don't see a variance between two numbers, I do wonder what's happening. I expect different measures to be providing different numbers. So variance is inevitable, but how we handle it matters. Reconciling production to defined tolerance limits or control limits allows us to highlight discrepancies early, understand their causes, and take corrective actions before they become costly issues. And then finally, that last point, reconciliation isn't just good practice, it's a requirement. JORC compliance is going to demand structured, auditable reconciliation data to support your public reporting. Without it, you'll be exposed to compliance risks and potential scrutiny. So ultimately, reconciliation is about trust, accuracy, and accountability. It's a foundation for reliable reporting and informed decision making. Reconcilor is a HTML5 web application delivering improvements by streamlining the mine reconciliation process. It provides confidence in your model estimates while embedding mine plan compliance and trend analysis to identify opportunities for optimizing production with a focus on accuracy. That's what it's all about, getting your data, getting confidence in your data. Reconciler helps manage your stock levels, your grades, your metal availability, and basically supports better blending decisions and supply chain efficiencies. It facilitates best practice mine reconciliation. So if you want to set up F series reporting, R series reporting, variance reporting, it can accommodate all of those different styles. Our reconciliation partnership program with Snowden Optiro Advisory and Training, you'll know that your team will be supported every step of the way. So with Reconciler, you know, our tagline is mine with confidence, and you can mine with confidence, knowing that your data and decisions are aligned for success. Reconciler delivers a range of benefits that can help mining operations improve their accuracy, efficiency, and transparency. Firstly, improved accuracy. Reconciler reduces discrepancies between planned and actual production, volumes or grades, helping to avoid issues like inventory variances or stockpile imbalances. It drives increased efficiencies by automating data capture and analysis. Reconcile also supports better risk management by identifying and mitigating risks associated with mining operations, such as ore loss and dilution, ensuring that operations remain efficient and sustainable. And importantly, it also enhances stakeholder communication by delivering accurate and timely production information, as well as your reconciliation reporting. So Reconciler enhances operational transparency by enabling regular data reconciliation. So we don't wait until the end of the year to do our reconciliation. We're doing it on a monthly basis and looking for trends in that data so that there are no surprises at the end of the year. By having regular data reconciliation as well, it ensures that your reports adhere to standard business rules. So to build a system like Reconciler, we need to do some standardization around your business rules. But at the same time, we also provide full auditability and traceability of the numbers that are being used. So standardization is another big one. I did speed through that because I really do want to get into the live demonstration. So if you missed some of that, please go back and listen to the recording. But the demonstration focus is first we'll set up a reconciliation workflow to compare your mineral resource and ore reserve estimates with actual production data. Next, we'll dive into some variance analysis just to see how discrepancies are identified. And finally, we'll generate a JORC compliant report and publish it for stakeholders. Before we go into the live demonstration though, for reconciliation to support JORC reporting effectively, we are going to make some key assumptions. That the data that I'm going to use today is of a high quality, meaning it's accurate, it's reliable, and it's consistently measured. And that all happens through the importing of data into Reconcilor. And the data set is complete so that I do have the complete mine value chain if I want to do any of those comparisons. Without these fundamentals, any reconciliation process is at risk of misrepresenting, I guess, the true performance of the operation. So with that in mind, I'm going to move into the demo and see how Reconcilor can help ensure transparent and auditable reconciliation aligned with these principles. So I'll just change my screens. Share this one. Okay, so just some quick navigation. As I said, it's an HTML5 software. It's really nice to use. Really nice to use and really simple menu structure. So we've got just some analysis modules, which we'll spend most of our time in today, followed by some management modules that can help you determine what you're looking at on the screen. I have set up a few different tabs across the top, and that's just to keep me on track time-wise, but you can absolutely navigate through the menu, no doubt about it. Okay, so the continuum is basically going to show us that we do have a consistent reconciliation approach. It's integrating data across the mine value chain. And you can see here, we've got a resource model, a reserve model, grade control model. I've actually got another model that I've just hidden, a mining model, mining production, and then we go all the way through to, I'll just make sell some more real estate. We're going through to plant product in this data set. We can go all the way through to product received. And we do in some instances. So I'm looking at 1 month's worth of data. I'm looking at ore only. I could be looking at ore and waste, and I'm looking at the raw data source, so the raw data that's come through. If you recall, I mentioned that the model by survey is how we refer to that mined part of the model estimate in Reconcilor. So we've got a resource model by survey, a reserve model by survey, so forth and so forth. With the attributes down the side, you know, we do talk about bringing in as many different attributes as you want on your models, and there is no limitation whatsoever. I've just chosen a few to show on this table, but there's no limitation to what you can import through your models. And it's really important to be able to track any variable through the model. It might not be important this month, but it might be important 3 years down the track. Anywhere that I select on this table will give me the waterfall below here, and the comparisons. So these comparisons have been set up, and this is what I wanted to focus on right now. So what you can see is I've chosen to look at the resource model to the reserve model, and I've got a 0.98 factor. I've set these up as factors, not percentage differences, but I could have. So I've got a 0.98, so very good, okay, for tons. If I go down to the copper tons, you can see also not so bad, 1.12. The color that is set on these arrows and on the waterfall charts is determined by your tolerance limits or your control limits that you set for each of these attributes or elements that we've got in the table. I've also got set up and I've just looked at the reserve model here. I'm looking at the reserve model to grade control, the reserve model to mine production, and I've set up another one, the reserve model to plant product. So if you want to call that your F3, absolutely fine. This is free text, so you can set it up however you want. I just want to go through and show you how easy it is to set up a new configuration, a new comparison though. I'm not going to lose this screen, but I'm going to navigate down to this configuration menu. We look down here, I'm now just on this comparison screen. So these are the list of comparisons that I've set up. Now I've tried to cover every scenario. I am in my demo environment, so different people have different requirements. But what I haven't set up yet is that reserve to mining model. And that was that node that was hidden on the continuum. What I'm going to do is add that in, and I'm going to add it in as number 7. So it'll slot everything down. And let's add it in, and I can call it whatever I want. As I said, mining model, model to, was I doing it to mine, to mine production, and I'll call it to mine production, and I'll set it. So this is a one-off setting that you need to do. You have to come in and actually set it up. Mining survey to mine production. I can choose the color for it in a chart. You've got full flexibility around your charting of color, your color charting. And what did I say? Number 7. I'm going to set it up 7. Now, because it's a mining model to mine production, I can do a comparison for tons for any of my grades and also for my metal. If I was doing a comparison for my plant production, obviously tons and grade are probably not always going to be relevant, so you can just set it up for a metal comparison. If we set this up now, what you'll see is I've got the mining model to mine production, and we'll have a look at that in the continuum shortly. Before we do though, I just wanted to take you through another screen we've got. And this is where I've set everything up to be a factor. And this is where I'm saying you can make it a % difference or an actual difference if you want, or if it's an element that you're not using, you can disable it. You've got the ability to display it to however many decimal places you like, and then you can set up control limits. Today's focus will be looking at gold ounces and also copper tons, because we were doing a lot around the plant product. You can see I've increased those. So I've got, again, control over how I set my control limits. And I would expect anybody to be setting their control limits, within the company guidelines, or setting it so that you can actually target things that are falling well outside of your control limits to start with. And then as soon as things are looking really good, you can reduce those, and you can come in and actually just update your control limits, your lower and your higher. The styling, so the color that I showed you on the continuum had that traffic light system. I tend to like that. Green is good, orange maybe not, and red, it needs attention. Again though, you can set these colors up to whatever you want. So if you've got a color that you've been using in your reconciliation reporting to flag issues, you can have those chosen, and you can set up as many different control limit styles as you like. Before I jump back in, I did mention colors at the start, where you can change any number of or any type of chart color in the reconciler now. So previously you weren't able to do that. So if anybody's on the call and has got an older version than 9.8, you won't be able to change your colors yet, but 9.8 really brought the UI to life, so that we can set up colors based on, again, company colors, or Reconcilor will generate a default color. If you don't like that, you've now got the ability to go and say, no, I don't want that color, I want this. And it just gives you so much more control over the charting. Saying that, it is a global change of the color. Okay, so we don't want we don't want Rebecca choosing a different color for the grade blockout and me choosing a green. We don't want her reporting in red and me green. So it's a standardization of colors across the UI as well. So I just wanted to jump down there, because now if we go back to the continuum, you will see, let's go and actually add that. I think I probably need to just give it a refresh. Supply, should refresh it. And I'll open up that mining model, because that was that mining model that we set up. And you can see now that that's come into my list, and I've got it in my list where I expect to see it, rather than just down the bottom. And I've now got a factor between this is my copper tons of my mining model compared to my mine production. Okay? That easy. Now think of this as your global dashboard. What I'm going to do now is go into it and look at this in trends over time. So one number is great, but we always want to be looking backwards as well to see how well that's performing. So I've gone into the trends module here, I've created a screen and I've loaded 4 different data sets. So I've got the actual numbers. So I'm not looking at factors at the moment. I'm looking at actual numbers for my resource by survey, my reserve by survey, my mine production, and my plant product. Again, I chose nice colors to make this chart look lovely for you. So I hope you appreciate that. But it's a pleasure to be able to change your colors on your charts. Okay, so this is a chart. Great. I'm a numbers person. I'm interested in the numbers. So I always have a chart and table. And what you'll see now is the underlying data behind the chart that we're seeing on screen. We'll just wait for that to load. So we're looking at a full year now. I'm still looking at ore only. And I've got the underlying numbers. And you can see I've got all of the grades that are available to me. So I don't pick and choose what grades I want on this screen. It gives everything to me. I can go in and reduce them through the table control. So we're just looking at, you know, a pretty simple. You can see the mine production numbers, you know, for copper tons, and we're looking at copper tons. We're not, sorry, I should have mentioned that. We're not looking at wet tons or dry tons here. I've specifically gone into metal because I want to be able to compare it with my plant product. So you can see that that mine production is for the last, what, 5 months of that year has been giving me some big numbers there. That would require investigation as to seeing what that is. And you know, typically, if you're seeing that already in August, you would be starting to investigate what's happening. Am I putting more onto my stockpiles than what I'm feeding through the plant? You'll have many reasons as to why you might see a difference here. Have I got the most up-to-date plant product numbers? Again, end of month, you should get that those reconciled numbers through from the processing plant. What I'm going to do now is turn it around. So this is actual numbers. I want to talk about these comparisons. So what we do is we're going to change the look and feel of this chart. So I'm going to change it from a value to a comparison. And I've only got factors set up. So I'll choose my factor. I'm going to choose my copper tons. And I'm also going to just bring in the gold as well while I'm here. So I'll look at factor and then gold ounces. Now what you'll see is these are the 4 data sets that I had open before. So that's what you're looking at on screen. I haven't pressed apply yet. They've all become grayed out because I've not got a value chosen in my axis. So I can't actually be looking at that. I could be looking at value and comparison together. And I could, you know, if I do that now, we just go to tons and look at, actually, we'll go to ounces and we'll look at gold ounces here. You'll see that the gold ounces has become available to me. So I'll just flip that back to factor and copper tons. I need to add some data sets. If I pressed apply now, I would get nothing showing on the screen. Reconcilor is smart enough to know you're only talking about comparisons. I'm only going to give you the option to add comparisons into these data sets. So let's add in the resource to plant product. I'll add that, and I'm going to also add in the reserve to plant product. I'm just going to look at copper tons to start with, so I'm just going to disable the gold. Before I flip it though, I also want to just make sure that everything here is as I'm expecting. And let me just go down here. Yep, I'm just going to put on some control lines. So we've got some control lines set up for the copper tons and the gold ounces. So I'll just turn on the copper tons for now. And let's press apply. So now I'm going to see over time the factor of copper tons for the resource to plant product and the reserve to plant product. And you can see they're both well outside those tolerance lines, except for February. Okay, you can see here we've got a lot of fields that aren't relevant, and that's because I'm looking at plant product and I've only set up comparisons for plant product against metal. So I can actually go in and I'm just going to turn off some of these columns. Just bear with me one sec. And choose ounces. And I'll just turn all these ones off because I don't need them. apply that. Now what I want to do is put on my control limits to the table. So what I'm going to hit here now is a heat map on the values that I'm seeing in this screen, in this table. I'm expecting to see a lot of red, purely because my copper tons are far exceeding my my tolerance limits for most of the year. And you can see here we've got some nice green for February, and then we've got red pretty much. Now, what I've chosen to do is actually show what the other elements are doing for those months as well. So maybe something's associated with the copper and the arsenic, or gold in the arsenic, or something like that. So you can actually look at how well these other elements are reporting. I could have chosen to put everything on in one chart. I like to keep my charts really clean and tidy so that I know what I'm looking at. I'm just going to flick to gold here, and I've changed the control limits to show me the gold control limits. I have got gold set up on the secondary axis, and we'll have a look at now what the gold looks like. So now the table didn't change, right, because I had all of those elements, but what we're seeing now is that the control limit, or the data for gold ounces, is actually well within our control limits for most of the year, with the exception of, a couple here. Now that is, we would, we don't expect, but it's not unfamiliar to see a big difference between a resource and a reserve with the plant product. If I was to plot on, say, the reserve to grade control model, let me add that in now and apply, and I've kept that copper tons on. But what you'll see is you'll see it very close to 1, because the numbers that we saw on the continuum were very close for the models against each other. And we can see here, that's those yellow lines there. Should have turned that one off. But it's the yellow dotted line, and that's my my reserve model to my grade control model over time. So it does dip a little bit, actually. I wasn't expecting that around May to August. Yeah, so there's the modifying factors, obviously, between the reserve model and the grade control model, whether that is dilution that's been built in. But hopefully that gives you an idea of how easy it is to actually generate these numbers once that the data has been imported. Just moving on now to the pivot view. So I'm just going to jump down to the pivot view. So the pivot view, think of it as a pivot view like you have in Excel, where you've actually got access to all of the data that's underlying all of the screens in Reconcilor, but you can create your own tables and charts here. And so what I'm just going to do, I've just a very simple one. I've pulled up a few different metrics, and I'm looking at this by year, and I've got some total numbers. Okay. I could be looking at, if I look at metric, and what I haven't shown so far is I could have brought in the design numbers as well. So if I go resource, actually, clear that. It's resource. Let me try grade control. Oh, it's not going to give it to me. We can bring in the design. Let me just clear out of that, and okay, let's just go down the list. I don't know why that wasn't giving it to me. Oh, I can't find it in the big list. There's a lot of lists, which is why we have filters, right? So we can bring in the resource model by design, reserve model by design, grade control model by design, and that way you can actually do your full reporting. What we're going to do now, though, is just move this into a chart similar to what we were looking at in the trends screen. I'm going to move this to monthly, though, because I want to look at trends over time. So I'm going to choose monthly. I'm going to put the metric name as a column, because that's what the chart's like, that they need a row and a column. And I'm going to just look at this for copper tons. And I'm also going to change my metric name. So you'll notice I've got material type is waste as false, which means I'm looking at ore only here. If I clear all of those metrics there, and I'm just going to load in a couple of those, what are we looking at? We'll look at the reserve model to grade control, to mine production, and resource to reserve. Okay, and I'm just going to flip over here and we're going to look at this. Actually, let's just look at it as a table first. So what we're going to see is just for copper tons, and that's only because I chose everything else off. Okay, again, just trying to keep it simple, but we've got the months and we've got 3 different comparisons across the top. I can then turn that into a chart and table. I've got a choice of the way that I want to display it. For me, factors is best shown as a line. And I can put some control limits. So again, I'll add the control limits onto my chart for copper tons and apply and close. And what you'll see now is for the 3 different comparisons that we'd set up, the reserve to resource to reserve to grade control, and to mine production. You can see how they're performing, and you can see that reserve to mine production is much higher than anything else, and that's purely because of those mine production numbers that were very high, and we saw that for the last 5-6 months of the year. What I wanted to show you now is just in the conscious of time, I've just flipped over to the model comparison screen. So I mentioned about design. We also bring in all of the resource classifications and reserve classifications. So what I've done here is I've just loaded up the resource model by survey, and I have also stacked it by resource classification. So you can see we've got a measured, we've got an inferred, and we've got an indicated. So this is the mined portion of the model for this particular month, and this is by resource classification. You can absolutely do it by anything. So you can do it by material type, lithology type, whatever it might be. I'm going to just flip that and say we're looking at this by month here. And I'm going to just look at it by the year. So now I can see I've got total indicated, total inferred, and total measured. So that's all available within the product. For any of these configurations that I was showing, just one moment. What you do, so you come in, you actually configure a screen how you would like it. Show me the year to date, well, show me the previous year, whatever it might be, and you save that configuration. So you don't have to come in and do all of these filterings like I've been doing today. You don't do that every time. You literally set it up and you can then publish to these dashboards. And so the dashboards within Reconcilor, we allow 4 configurations on each dashboard. And if that takes 3 to tell your reconciliation story, let it take 3. At least you've got a focus for the actual dashboard. So I've just loaded a few of those different configurations that we've looked at on these previous screens onto the dashboard. I can navigate to any of these configurations through a little link here. That will take me straight through to that configuration with this period and location set on the screen. I've got exactly the same capabilities in the dashboards that I have in the module itself. I can export any table to Excel. So whilst we're trying to remove people away from Excel, we know that people need to sometimes do their own flexible analysis or charting. You can absolutely export everything into Excel. You can take snapshots of the charts, or you can even copy a link here, and that will give you a URL to this screen. So if somebody that's been set up in Reconcilor can open that link and they will be shown Reconcilor. And just finally, everything that we do is captured in a system log, an audit log. So you've got full audit tracking of everything that's changed or imported into Reconcilor. So again, confidence that what you're reporting, and we absolutely have audit teams go through Reconcilor and check that everything's there, and we always pass. So I just need to stop sharing and go back to PowerPoint. Few screens there, and share this screen. So I just wanted to end on this slide because I just wanted to I guess, as you can see, Reconcilor not only streamlines reconciliation processes, but it also enhances the transparency. So everybody has access to this data. So this is not just the geologists reporting their models. This is not just the METs showing their MET results. This is bringing all the data together and actually doing those comparisons across the mine value chain, which is makes it easier. It makes it really easier to meet current and any future JORC requirements that that might come out. This slide highlights just some of the leading companies that trust Reconcilor for their reconciliation processes across different commodities, including precious metals, base metals, bulk commodities, and diamonds. From industry giants like BHP, Anglo American, and Newmont to specialised operations, Reconcilor has been a key tool in helping these organisations improve accuracy, transparency, and efficiency in their reconciliation workflows. So, whether it's tracking stockpiles, managing mine plans, or ensuring data confidence, Reconcilor continues to deliver value across the global mining industry. Thank you. I know it was rushed. If you'd like to see more, please reach out. But thank you for joining today's webinar, The Future of Compliance, JORC Reconciliation Reporting Made Easy with Reconcilor. I hope you've gained some valuable insights into how Reconcilor can enhance your reconciliation workflows, improve compliance and foster transparency across the operation. Yes, as the mining industry evolves, staying ahead of reporting standards like the JORC Code is critical. So Reconcilor provides the tools to ensure your operations are accurate, efficient and compliant.